It's 2009. The DSi has just released, and when you're not snapping pictures of just about everything, you're quietly saying "lucky" into the DS microphone under your pillow. Your family have caught on to how much you like the game, so in that same spirit, they give you my favourite fluffy pets care puppy the third Bedlington Terrier edition. With gaming becoming a lot more casual during the 7th generation, especially on Nintendo's Wii and DS systems, it led to a lot of licensed games and a lot of random shovelware that mostly existed to mildly entertain children. Children probably aren't going to be playing competitive games or spending hours grinding through RPGs, but do you know what children do love? Animals, of course. With this in mind, and Nintendogs being among the best-selling games of the generation, there became somewhat of an outburst in wacky pet simulation games. I feel like pet games have always been a thing, and they probably always will be, but there's something so nostalgic about this era specifically. Maybe it's the models that aren't quite low poly but not yet realistic. Maybe it's their fun soundtracks and sound effects. I'm reluctant to say it's the quality that holds these up so strongly because, well, let's just say not every one of these games are created as masterful pieces of art or entertainment. A lot of them ended up being repackaged minigame compilations and cheaply churned out titles for parents to pick up. But even the ones that aren't so great hold their own unique beauty. From nostalgic flash games to DS shovelware, let me take you through the journey of the pet game craze of the 2000s. I've chosen a few of these relics to analyse, and how could I start anywhere except for the most iconic Nintendogs? I can't tell you the amount of time I spent on this game doing the same things over and over and over. Selling almost 24 million units, the second highest number for the DS, it's no wonder that it started a trend. Chances are if you owned a DS, you owned one of the game's 5 versions, be it Lab, Chihuahua or Dalmatian and Friends, the version I had. None of them had different features or gameplay, just a slightly different selection of puppies. I never got why games did this. I know Pokemon is obviously a popular one, but it feels off because unless you look into it, how is an average consumer to know what's the same game and what is a sequel? Nintendogs was great at utilising the innovative features of the DS, as a majority of gameplay focused on the touchscreen, which meant you could interact with your pet in real time, like giving it scratches, hand washing with this iconic shower and incredibly satisfying animation and music, or guiding your pet on its walk. Or if you were me, I'd always lift up the dog's ears and pull them away from the NPC pets while walking because I thought they were all scary or evil, especially Chelsea. The heightened sense of realism, or as much realism as you can get from a 2005 pixelated game with a 4:3 aspect ratio, it made you more engaged and attached to the pet. And of course, the fact that they are all super cute helps a lot too. Depending on your version, you could unlock different breeds by playing and earning owner points. Each breed also has colour variations which are all lovely and scrunkly, and the little sprite icons they each have are super adorable. I used to always adopt pugs because remember when that was a thing where pugs were kind of seen as the peak of random XD humour? Now I really love the toy poodles, the miniature schnauzers are cute, and the Lab and Dalmatian, they're classics. Another feature of the DS that was heavily used was its microphone. You had to speak your pet's name and it would learn the sound and respond to it. I loved this as a kid, but maybe it was just me. It was never super reliable, but it is a really interesting mechanic. I would always say a really simple phrase so that the game found it easier to understand, and with my incredibly legitimate ways of capturing footage for this video, it definitely posed a few difficulties. I am not an expert or qualified to talk about dogs at all, but I think that this game had well-realised physics and engagement with the pets. They have mechanics and behaviours that are fun and simple, but able to replicate the nuances of real-life dogs, which pushed it to trailblaze this trend. Virtual pets had existed through iconic toys like Barbie and Tamagotchi, but nothing was quite like Nintendogs. Although I suppose one thing that carried over is that they aren't super content heavy. Maybe gaming just exists in a different landscape now, but the depth of content is fairly shallow, mostly consisting of the same basic mechanics from start to finish. You'd progress by being able to adopt up to 3 puppies and keep 5 at the dog hotel. You'd unlock accessories like collars and bows, as well as change the house interior, through money that was earned by training and placing your dog in competitions. Disc catching and agility trials, which you train by reaching specific locations on walks, or obedience trials, which I never did as a kid because I couldn't figure it out. The contests are commentated by these two random dudes who are cracking dad jokes every few seconds. You'd progress your rank by placing highly in the contests. Other than that, there wasn't a whole range of depth. The real-time clock meant your pets would get thirstier, hungrier, and dirtier over time, encouraging frequent play and care. The main appeal is the engagement and the physics of the dogs, rather than extensive gameplay. The music and sound effects for Nintendogs are plastered into my head, and I love to use them as background music for my videos. I also have a hazy memory of owning a Nintendogs plushie. My guess is that this was inspired by Webkinz and that kind of thing, although they didn't actually have in-game functions. Outside of video games, interactive pet toys were also pretty dominant at the time, and some of the Nintendogs toys leaned into this. For example, some would react to your voice just as the DS game did, and there were fun dressable pets too. With the DS getting a successor in the 3DS, so too would Nintendogs in Nintendogs plus catz. I'll give you 3 guesses on what they added to this one. The thing is, cats weren't allowed to be taken out or entered into competition, so their addition felt a little bit shallow even if they are cute. Other than improved graphics and 3D capabilities, the game also used a real-life pedometer to let you walk your pet, but for the most part it was much the same. The game ultimately had much lower sales, just shy of 4 million, which is still a success, but compared to the original is kind of underwhelming. Maybe this was due to the original game still being backwards compatible with the 3DS, but in general pet games were shifting to online and mobile gaming in the 2010s, and with the rise of the internet I think the 3DS might have just had a less casual audience. Nintendogs was truly the premier virtual pet experience. The use of technology that seemed revolutionary at the time took pet simulation to a more accessible high. And with its popularity, there's no wonder it spawned so many copycats, or copy dogs, horses, tigers, hamsters? Puppy Love, Your New Best Friend is a game that follows Nintendogs essentially beat for beat, just on the Wii. You start by picking out a dog breed, Retriever, Labrador, Dalmatian, already pretty familiar. I'm sure all of the models are just reskins of themselves anyway. The lack of Nintendo polish really shows. I'm kind of more creeped out by this dog more than anything. He is just staring into my soul endlessly atop this flat printed grass texture. I know that the Wii wasn't super powerful, but at least with the DS, the charm of its pixelated lower end graphics are kind of nostalgic and charming. This is just grainy and boring. But at least it kind of contextualizes itself amidst Puppy Love Town with such places as the backyard, the bedroom, the pet store, which is just a UI menu, exercise where you'd take your dog on a walk, and the crown jewel, options, and then all these other places you can't visit. There's really freaky voice acting supposed to be from yourself, which takes away from that personable aspect in my opinion.
Here, puppy.
But I guess that it used motion controls in an interesting way. You could teach your dog tricks and such, train it in agility for competitions. Very unique. Puppy Love. Here's the gorgeous outfit I dressed my puppy in. Yeah, that's kind of it, I guess. From just knowing this game's existence and seeing its box art, you get pretty much all you need or would get from actually playing it. I'm sure that somewhere out there, this and all the other niche obscure pet games hold really strong memories for some people, and I think that's lovely, even if I don't think it's some masterpiece. We have a few more interesting games to look at, but before we do, I want to take a look through the world of pet flash games. Before we do, if you are enjoying the video, please leave a like to show your support. If you want me to unlock more childhood memories and talk about random things that interest me from the past, please subscribe so that you never miss another upload. Thank you to anyone who has already subscribed and shown support. It helps me out so much as I grow the channel, and I'm really grateful for everyone. There are probably hundreds of pet-based flash games that exist out there, using the point-and-click controls and fast-paced gameplay, usually including elements of time management or dress-up, staples of the flash game universe. pet grooming studio from American Girl is one I see reminisced on a lot. In it, you're up against a time limit to wash, rinse, dry and trim as many pets as possible in 4 minutes. I feel like the imagery of washing a pet like this is integral to almost every game from this era. There was also a free mode that let you choose a specific pet to clean and then put accessories on it to take photos. Animal Shelter was hosted on Girls Go Games. As the name suggests, you're hosting many rescued animals that you would have to keep clean, healthy and happy, while advertising them off to go to a loving new home. This gets a little stressful as you have a lot to manage and it's pretty fast paced. It has fun little tidbits, like they'll showcase movie parodies as causing a boom in adoption of certain animals, and it's fun to take photos and make advertisements for the different pet types. Staple flash animation visuals and a repetitive song sounds just like my childhood. Zoe 101 PCA Puppy Academy is a generic pet themed game with Zoe 101 branding slapped onto it. For some reason. You're told each of these puppies' favourite toy to remember and have to navigate different rooms in a house, giving each puppy their favourite toy once agitated, with more being introduced each level. Even Tinkerbell threw her hat in the ring with Pixie Hollow Pets, where you'd feed, clean and play with different animals from the Tinkerbell movies, including Gruff. There were a ton of these games. These are a rabbit hole in themselves, but they do parallel a lot of aspects from the DS and mainstream consoles. Of course, the idea of caring for pets was prevalent in many major online MMOs like Webkinz and Neopets, and even the likes of Club Penguin. Games I spent tons of time on were an evolution of this trend, but definitely a different topic of their own. One online pet game I do have strong memories of is Pet Society, which was one of those Facebook games. I was way too young to own a Facebook account at the time, so I would always watch my sister play. Like many other online games, you would adopt a pet who would essentially become your avatar as you engaged in mini games, unlocked clothes and furniture, typical shenanigans, just more explicitly pet themed. This is only meant to be a brief intermission, so I can't get too in depth, but this game just brings back a specific memory. Part of the inspiration for this video was finding out just how wide the Petz franchise is, and that's Pets with a Z. Don't forget the Z. You can't forget the Z because they certainly didn't. Pets, dogs, cats, hamsters, bunnies, monkeys, horses, dolphins, tigers. Honestly, the Petz cinematic universe is wide enough that it could be an entire video on its own. The series started back in the late 90s as a PC game developed by PF Magic that focused on adopting and breeding pets. These games spawned their own dedicated fanbase and a community of modders that create custom dog and cat breeds. And there was a reason for that. These games had a genuine heart behind them. How could you not love these scrunkly guys? I am obsessed with the art style of these original games. The company Ubisoft would eventually purchase the studio behind the Petz franchise and took this pet game craze to their advantage with use of the Petz IP, releasing tons and tons of games. Out of the extensive catalogue, the one I chose to look at is Bunnyz for the Nintendo DS. Because when I was a kid, I really wanted a pet bunny, and this is my way of fulfilling that wish. Except this isn't actually Bunnyz from the Petz series at all. In the 2000s, Ubisoft would take existing Japanese games, slap a real-life PNG of whatever animal the game's focus was, and pass it off as the next iteration in the Petz series, which is why none of these games seem very connected at all in much other than name. Bunnyz is one that seems to copy the Nintendogs formula. There's this random magical girl called Bonnie who guides you through the game, letting you pick one of 3 bunnies to adopt. The menus are all very cute and nostalgic. I chose this little guy and named him Bun, seeing as there was only like 5 letters to fill the name. And well, let's just say the mechanics aren't as refined. Again, it's very janky, but sometimes that's the charm of getting to revisit these. Maybe this was intended to be an educational game, as you're mostly teaching the bunny different words and phrases, which it then speaks back to you. I find it so unsettling that your bunny straight up speaks words. Like, it'll just start saying, "Feed me," instead of having any kind of nuanced communication and body language. It uses the internal clock to take the date, and then you can teach your bunny special days and holidays. You can brush your bunny, clean its cage, hold it. You know, I feel like including a hand model like this completely takes you out of the engaging virtual pet aspect. You can also take the bunny out of its cage and bring it around your bedroom. As you can see, incredibly riveting stuff. Learning new words would unlock different mini-games, which were all mildly amusing staples of DS shovelware. Some were themed around bunnies, but some were just typical and generic. I felt like I'd seen pretty much everything in the first half an hour of playing this game, which is pretty indicative of all of them. The staple is, of course, that they would encourage you to return by making your pet hungrier and dirtier over time, which I guess is good to teach kids responsibility. Bunnyz is definitely a product of the time and falls into all of the conventions of this pet craze. When I was younger, I do remember playing a game on the DS called Fashion Dogz, which let you dress your pet up in these like snazzy outfits. It was basically like worse Nintendogs again, but that. Catz was also thriving on Nintendo Wii thanks to the capabilities of motion controls, and the one I decided to look at is Pet's Monkeyz Madness. From the absurdity of that title alone. As typical, you adopt and name your own pet, just a monkey this time. I like that at least this makes it unique. Some people do keep monkeys as pets, and they behave differently from dogs, so at least there's an interesting spin, even if maybe this wasn't the most marketable of choices. Most of the gameplay takes place in this house. It's very bare and plain, giving sad beige baby. There's also a kitchen where you feed your monkey, a bathroom to clean it, a yard to play in, a toy box, and a wardrobe with an array of gorgeous outfits. This is so Lana Del Rey vinyl. If you're going to play Crazy Monkeys or Monkeyz Madness, whatever it's called in your region, play it to make your monkey a certified fashion icon like this. It's not exactly a jam-packed game. Its target audience is clearly young, but there were quests to complete, there were different tricks to teach, and you were able to unlock new monkey breeds and outfits. I'm becoming a bit of a broken record when describing these game mechanics. I named my monkey Boing, and he was a very mischievous guy indeed. You can adopt more monkeys and eventually crossbreed them, but after a few minutes and the haha monkey go brr wears off, you're left with a kinda silly game that you don't know what to do with, forever trapped to the confinement of this tiny little house dropping random stuff on the floor, so you probably won't feel too motivated to build up a monkey empire. At least Bunnyz had a pink, cute core, nostalgic UI design. Monkeyz is just bland, so I guess the madness in the title didn't hold up. It's disappointing to see a series spawned from genuine love with unique design devolve into generic copy and paste shovelware. They would try to revitalize it with Pet's Fantasy, which let you adopt magical creatures. I'm going to guess this was due to a rise in the huge boom of dragon-themed mobile games. But once again, as these kind of games died down, Petz became a distant memory of the past. Pawly Petz, My Pet Hotel was a DS game released in 2007. Aside from the more intimate and direct pet games that we've looked at so far, some of them were more about running a hotel or a vet and caring for a group of pets in that regard. I'll give this game that at least there's some setup for the pet caring. There are stakes, seeing as you're looking after others' pets. There are a few gameplay mechanics, but like all of them, it just gets boring and repetitive. The closest comparison for this game I have is like Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley in a very primitive, generic way. You take the place of this random farmer girl and control her around this pixelated 3D-ish farm, which Ubisoft described as a highly realistic simulation in 3D. It's one of those sim games where you're supposed to grow and expand your resources and capabilities over time, but it's very minimal. You're consistently trapped to this tiny farm for days on end. There's even a gate at the front that taunts you with freedom but never grants it. You just have people coming in and out of the farm to drop their pets for you to feed, clean, stroke, and generally care for. It uses an in-universe time system to pass through the days, which began feeling very slow by the way. You earn money which you reinvest into upgrading the pens and buying appropriate food or toys, but the grainy visuals and the general design and layout of the game make this feel pretty restrictive and confusing. You start off just with bunnies and turtles, and there are other animals to upgrade to, but it's mostly a waiting game of doing the same things, not really offering much to engage with. Controls are pretty wonky, the UI is confusing and clunky. I can only imagine the frustration of my childhood self who desperately wants to care for these pets and give them a good life, but just not understanding how it works. It's kind of cute in the same way all these games vaguely are, and this one kind of wacky song just plays on repeat over and over and over that it started eating at my brain. I wish that I had the patience to unlock the new animals. I'm sure horses would have been really fun. They are the last ones that you unlock, so to all of the horse girls that bought this game from the box art alone, I'm really sorry, you're gonna have to sit through a lot of this song on repeat. There is no point being mad about these games, especially now. I just think it's really fun to kind of reminisce on them and look back at some nostalgia. Before we end, I want to give a quick look at Littlest Pet Shop for the DS. This game is iconic to me, it's everything. It's where my channel icon originates from. My rose tinted glasses probably let me give this game a lot higher praise than it deserves because I loved playing it so much. I just think that down to an aesthetic, this is complete nostalgia personified. I think it's just so fun, so expressive. It did a fantastic job at translating the toys to these fun and lively animations, and everything is perfectly cute and colourful the way it needed to be. It just speaks to me. But I want to keep the doors open to talk about these more in depth at a different time, but this isn't really a pet simulator game in the same sense. And for little me, I just loved running around and interacting with all of the pets because they were just genuinely adorable. This was also my way of having all the cool pets that I didn't own toys of. Parts of this also migrated into the Gameloft Littlest Pet Shop app, which would control my life in indescribable ways at points. Pet games never really went away. I mean, just look at the App Store today. Mobile icons like Pow and Talking Tom are basically new gen pet games, and the abundance of town builders and tycoons often have some of the same kind of theming and mirror these pet games, if not directly contributing to this new era. As long as gaming exists, caring for pets will be an integral part of that, because at a base level it teaches a good lesson to children and it works at the core of what a video game is, even if the ones from this 2000s wave are a little bit wacky and outlandish, and probably deserve to stay in our memories. Let me know if you played any of the games we talked about or any other pet games that you played. I'd love to hear all about your experiences. Is there a specific pet that you were attached to that is probably waiting in the digital wasteland to be fed for years now? Thank you so much to everyone who has supported me at the start of my channel. I'm really looking forward to making more, and if you want me to unlock more childhood memories, then subscribe so that you never miss an upload. Keep spreading love, and hopefully I'll see you in my corner of the world again soon.